to the channel. Hello if you're new. And actually I know we have a few new subscribers, so real welcome to you guys. I know it's like a whole 2 or 3 of you. Tonight we are going to make tomato soup, but quick apology that there's been such a huge hiatus on this channel. We have a very, very good reason, and she just walked into the kitchen. This love right here is the reason why this channel's been in hiatus. Fortunately, our darling Bella, the smallest of the smalls, as Adric calls her, lost half of her body weight and suffered from kidney failure. Thank you. Just on Christmas Day, as a matter of fact, is when she got really sick. And we have spent the last 2 months getting her back to normal. There you go, baby. And I'm happy to announce she really is herself, but Joey and I've had to learn how to do her medicine, including fluids and everything, so it's been a lot. So thank you for hanging in there, those of you who have, and to those of you we lost, well, it is what it is. This is my second attempt making tomato soup, and let's see how I do. To make this creamy tomato soup, you will need 4 tablespoons unsalted butter, 2 yellow onions, or 3 cups finely chopped, 3 garlic cloves, or 1 tablespoon minced, 2 28-ounce cans of no salt crushed tomatoes, 2 cups chicken stock, preferably low or no salt, 1/4 cup chopped fresh basil, or a generous tablespoon of dried basil, 1 tablespoon of sugar, or to taste, 1/2 teaspoon black pepper, or to taste, 1/2 cup heavy whipping cream to combat acidity, or to taste, and you can increase that up to 3/4 if you feel it necessary. Also salt as necessary, and that will be added to taste as we go along. Let's talk about salt. When we're gathering our ingredients for this, I try to get as many salt-free ingredients together as possible so that I can control how much salt goes into it. So crushed tomatoes, the broth, just pretty much every ingredient that goes in there, I really try to focus on what it is. Now, this time the broth I'm using actually has a higher salt content than I wanted. I didn't have time to get to the store to buy my no salt broth, so I made some with some Better Than bouillon and just put it to the side and used that, which is perfectly acceptable. But if you're gonna do something that has that high of a salt content, you really want to pay attention, because if you don't, you're going to have a very salty soup and it's going to be rather unpleasant. Now real quick, we're going to chop up our onion. I could dice this by hand, but instead I'm going to use my hand crank food processor my sister Sarah gave me as a gift many, many years ago, and I love it for chopping onions. So peel them, cut them into small pieces, the food processor, few cranks, and we have diced onion. So to begin, we're going to put 4 tablespoons of butter into our soup pot, and we're going to let that melt, but we don't want it to burn, so keep your heat at about medium-low. Then we're going to add in our chopped onions, a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper just to season our base layer, and we're going to keep that salt to a minimum. And then we're going to add our garlic. I like to add my garlic at the very end, just as the onion's starting to turn translucent, because if you overcook garlic, it can become very bitter, and I don't want that, so I just add it at the very end, just so we can perk up the flavor. And that's the end of cooking our onions. Once our onion is cooked to that pretty translucent, starting to golden color, that's when we're going to throw in our crushed tomatoes and our chicken broth. Next, you're going to throw in your fresh or dried basil. I have dried, so I'm only using about a tablespoon. Then we add in our sugar. Give that a good stir, and we're going to start to let that come to a simmer. Always make sure that you taste to make sure if it needs to be adjusted, and I'm just adding a little bit more salt because it needed it. Give that a good stir, and we're going to start to let that come to a simmer. Now we're just going to let that go for a nice simmer for a while. So far this is turning out to be a really pretty soup. Next step before we strain our soup, we have to blend it. So I'm going to take my immersion blender and I'm going to try not to make a huge mess as I blend all of the onion and larger ingredients down as best I can before we strain that soup. Once you have it as smooth as you would like it, it's time for it to cool a little bit and then we strain it. At this point, I'm going to take a mesh colander or a strainer and I'm going to pour all of my soup in it, as much as I can fit in it. And I'm going to strain out all of the lumps and bumps and peels and everything that isn't smooth soup as best I can. As you can see in the back, I kind of splattered a little with the immersion blender, but that's okay, I'll clean it up. My favorite part is this part. We finally got all of the pulp out of this strain, so we can add it back into the soup and make it a little bit thicker. Once we've got all of the yumminess strained out and back into the pot, then it's time for one more taste before we add our heavy cream. At this point, you can add a half a cup or up to 3/4 of a cup or less than a half if you want. But play with it, see what you like. I like to do just a little over a half a cup. After you've added the cream, one more mix, heat it up, and then it can be served immediately or it can go into the fridge until tomorrow. Mine is going in the fridge until tomorrow. Alright, it's time to pour the soup.
Hello.
Hi, baby. Welcome back.
Well, thank you for having me.
We haven't been on, for a while. We have been. We left them. We neglected them.
Oh no. I'm sorry.
I explained to them at the beginning of the video about Bella and how we had very good reason.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully they forgive us.
Oh, I'm sure they will, especially the ones who love Bella.
Okay.
All right, here's your spoon.
I have a spoon.
Here's your tomato soup.
I have a tomato soup. If I remember this being as good as it normally is, I'd prefer a straw.
I think I outdid myself this time, honestly.
Where's the straws? Okay, well, as soon as we stop recording, I'm grabbing a straw. It is very delicious. And it was funny because when she was making it last night, the house smelled. It's like I went to bed and she made this and I was waking up going, garlic, I'm hungry. No, sleep. All the way up until 11 at night.
Oh my.
Verdict, you should try it at least once. We like having grilled cheese with it. I prefer having soups that have stuff in it, but this is actually really good for me to have during lunch because I don't have a whole lot of time. So I'll heat this up and I'll just slam it like a drink. And I'll be ready to go for the second half of my day.
Sounds good. It really is better than last time. Last time Riley was like, why did you make spaghetti sauce soup? And I'm like, there's no oregano or anything in there. I don't know what he's talking about. I'm a little heavy-handed on the basil. That's all.
What can you do?
This is really good. You can have it more in a minute. We have to say goodbye first.
Okay.
All right. Until next time. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed what you saw and would like to see more content like this, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know when I have uploaded again. And from all of us at the channel, take care, be safe, and... Alright. That's right. It's not the camera that's crooked, it's the kitchen.